Welcome to my office. France, Spain, China, Turkey and Australia on this week's menu. China Coast Race Week, Transat Jacques Vabre, finally, Marmaris International Race Week in Turkey, the Clipper Race in Geraldton, but first back to Alicante for Volvo Ocean Race's start, full of dramas.
This will set the standard of the competition really high straight away, and even as soon as Gibraltar we will probably see some small differences or even a really big jump on the fleet, and that's really good for a race start.
On the dot at 2 p.m, the 6 Volvo 70s start at full speed for a complex short course around the Bay of Alicante. Launched at more than 20 knots, the New Zealand camper demonstrates its power and leads the rest of the fleet. The World Cup football star Zinedine Zidane, sending as guest of honor on board Abu Dhabi, jumps overboard as the Falcon heads offshore. Not even 6 hours later, Abu Dhabi leaps off a big wave and falls heavily into the trough behind. The mast doesn't take the shock and collapses overboard along with the hopes of the Arab boat. One of the crew, Wayne Morgan, gets into the water to try and recover as much of the rig as possible. A seriously delicate operation. On his return to Alicante, skipper Ian Walker struggles to hide his emotions.
It's hard to sort of say how upset we are, really. It's been like 16 months of work, and 4 or 5 hours into the race, the whole thing falls down around us. It's tough, you know, when you put so much work into something, and it's just, 1 week ago we won the import race, top of the world. This week we're not. Maybe next week we'll be back up again.
The next morning, the Chinese entry, skipped by Mark Sanderson, announces massive elimination in the bow of the boat, forcing retirement from the first leg. Less than 24 hours after the start, 1/3 of the fleet returned to port.
A 3-day event in the south of Hong Kong.
In the first race, Frimpong, the skipper of Jelic, gets an excellent start and steals the show from the Supermaxi Audi Ultra. A perfect race means that he managed to maintain the lead and collects line honours. In the second race, Wen Hao, at the helm of the Supermaxi, finishes more than 6 minutes ahead of the next boat. Nell Price, steering Hi-Fi, and Sam Cheng on Free Fire battle it out for best corrected time for the whole 3 days regatta. It is Hi-Fi that finally gets the overall honours. The China Coast Week is the preliminary event ahead of the Asian Classic, the 656 miles long offshore race between Hong Kong and Vietnam.
A tough beginning following 72 hours of standby.
The 35 entries in the Transat Jacques Vabre started from Le Havre last Wednesday for a 2-week trip to Costa Rica. The terrible autumn weather really tested the fleet and decimated the multi-50 class, 4 of the fleet retiring in the first days of the race. The really deep depression offshore from the Azores proved fatal for PRB. Vincent and Hugues destroyed the forward bulkhead in the bow of their prototype and must divert to Horta if they want to save the boat. Poor Bernard Stamm is obliged to abandon his brand new Cheminée Pujula, which is sinking. His unlucky co-skipper has to go through the nightmare of abandoning his boat once again. He had been airlifted off another boat during the previous edition of the race when sailing with Seb Joss. During the first week, not even a quarter of the race distance has been sailed and already 1/3 of the whole fleet is out. Luckily, the next few days should see the return to normal weather conditions. The route to Costa Rica is still long and there are plenty of options.
History and emotion for the legends in Alicante.
600 former crew have come from all over the world to pay homage to the 38 years of history of the Whitbread Round the World race and the Volvo Ocean race. At 85 years of age, Ramon Carling, the skipper and owner of the first winner in 1974, has come in person to greet his old crew. Some very emotional moments are passed together during this unique reunion. Some of the crew haven't seen each other since they got off the boat for the last time decades ago. They talked of the Big Broach in 1977 or the finish in Rio de Janeiro or rounding Cape Horn. This special but diverse fleet of yachts then compete on the same course but in a pursuit race format. The starts are staggered depending on the size and speed of each yacht. In winds of up to 30 knots, Lionel Péon's L'Esprit d'Equipe win the race. The Sir Peter Blake Trophy is presented by Lady Pippa Blake, the widow of the race's most celebrated veteran winner of the 1989-90 race on Steinlager 2.
22nd edition of the Marmaris International Race Week in Turkey.
The 5-race program sees 145 boats put in the full range of performances. The sailors coming from 17 different countries share the strong emotions and color both the shore and the float. The light conditions of the first days allows for the appreciation of some gymnastic sessions ideal for reducing the tension. One race even takes place in the Bay of Marmara in a typical Mediterranean seascape. The next stage becomes a lot more technical and above all tactical, with 15 knots of wind blowing. The offshore legs takes the rival out to sea for the pleasure of the specialists. Across the 8 classes, the battles are intense with Mad, Matrix, Letlands, Boomerang, Hakuna Matata, Martlet, Perse and Attila 2, the big winners.
The Clipper race has stopped in Gilton, Western Australia.
Following 26 days at sea, Gold Coast Australia wins the 4th leg of the Clipper race at home. They are dominating this event as they have won all leg sales so far. The 10 entries enjoy a good Australian beer following their difficult 5,000 miles Indian Ocean crossing. With a 1-week stopover, it's already time for the fleet of 60-footers to race on to Tauranga in New Zealand, 3,100 miles away. In front of the home crowd and within the first few miles, Gold Coast Australia again takes the lead in this 5th leg. The fleet is expected to finish at the end of November. Renaud Marie ran aground 30 nautical miles from the Transat 650's finish. The Mini is stuck on the beach near the village of Paraiso, 50 km north of Salvador. Having waited a few days for the weather conditions to improve, the unfortunate skipper was helped by a local fishing boat and some mini skippers, including race winner David Raison. With the help of ropes and the united strength of the group, they managed to get the boat back into the water, to the great delight of her skipper.
I'll see you next week from Perth in Western Australia. Until then, goodbye and fair sailing.